Taoiseach, there's a striking article by Fintan O'Toole in the Irish Times today where he's drawing upon research by the OECD to put the fiscal cost of child poverty in Ireland at something like 20 billion euros. So around the scale of the health budget on a yearly basis. And that's, of course, on top of the kind of moral shame, the human impact of people growing up in poverty and all of the impact it has on people. One aspect of that, which Richard has spoken about, is the whole question of homelessness. There's been lots of studies now of the psychological, the mental, physical impact on children growing up in homelessness. It's devastating and has an impact well beyond them managing to get out of that homelessness perhaps a year or 2 or 3 years after going into it. But the question is, how much is going to be too much for the government? I mean, that was a striking thing from the homeless figures last week, is almost 4,000 children homeless now. The highest number of children homeless since August 2019. Over the course of the winter, are we going to see the figures of children homeless going up towards the 5,000 mark? I mean, how much is going to be too much for this government? What would it cause the government to say, stop, enough children are homeless, and we will reinstate the eviction ban and use that time then allowed by that to do the measures that will actually make a fundamental difference in terms of proper rent controls, proper tenants' rights, and building of social and affordable housing?
In relation to the challenge of family homelessness, which was raised by a number of deputies, in July there were 1,839 families in state-provided emergency accommodation, and that includes 3,829 children, and that is a shockingly high number. It's already too many. The solution, in my view, is additional social housing, and lots of it. We're ramping up social housing dramatically at the moment. More social housing built last year than any year since the 1970s, and I believe we'll exceed that again this year. And social housing benefits everyone, not just those who receive it, but also frees up properties for other people to rent and has a dampening effect on house prices in general. And it's a good thing that over the past 10 years we've seen a significant increase in social housing, both in raw numbers and percentage terms, and we want that to continue. In terms of the eviction ban, as deputies will know, unfortunately, when it was in place last year, family homelessness, or rather homelessness, continued to rise, and it's been rising at a rate of about 1.2% per month since the ban was lifted, or 1 or 2% per month since the ban was lifted. Housing for All commits to enhancing prevention and early intervention services for children and their families to provide improved tenancy sustainment measures to families experiencing long-term homelessness to help them exit from homelessness and maintain their homes. Budget 2023 allocated 10 million in capital funding for emergency accommodation for families and individuals experiencing homelessness, and this will achieve the expansion of Housing First towards the achievement of over 1,300 new Housing First tenancies. Guaranteed state investment of over 4 billion a year in housing is aimed at increasing housing supply, and indicators are positive and show that the Housing for All plan is taking root and supply is increasing. Further measures also being taken to deal with family homelessness are to increase and accelerate the supply of social housing, which I mentioned earlier. An increase in the number of social housing acquisitions, that's the tenant in situ scheme. We've aimed to purchase about 1,500 homes from landlords selling up this year, allowing those tenants to transition from HAP and RAS to a regular social housing tenancy. And funding is in place to provide 11,830 new social homes this year, of which over 9,000 will be new builds. The department is also working with local authorities to bring on stream an additional 2,000 beds in homeless emergency accommodation. Deputy Murphy mentioned Fintan O'Toole's article in the Irish Times today. I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but I will. I know he writes very well on this particular issue. Deputy O'Callaghan raised the issue of adult day services, and I know that is a priority for the department. Some real difficulties recruiting staff, but what I'll do is I'll make sure he gets a more detailed reply in writing from the department. And Deputy Muraku made a very strong case for projects that are helping children in Dundalk, and I think he made a very good argument for funding to be retained for those services.